Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. On today's episode, we will be reviewing Westworld, Season 3, Episode 3, The Absence of Field. And before we get into the mind-numbing world of Westworld, we would like to thank our sponsor for this video, NordVPN. Right now, you could click the link in our description box below and receive 70% off a 3-year plan. Taking advantage of this deal will get you 3 years of internet protection. That means your IP address, private passwords, sensitive information, everything is secured with NordVPN. And I think a good place to start with this episode, like most episodes of Westworld, would be the title. And the title is taken from the poem by Mark Strand, The Absence of Field. And I think the two obvious candidates to apply this title to would be Caleb and Charlotte Hale, or whoever's in Charlotte Hale. Do you have any ideas? We won't get into that right now. But this idea is that they're occupying space that doesn't necessarily belong to them. That's how most people interpret the poem, is that this man is in a field and him being there is disrupting the wholeness of this environment. So with Caleb, I mean, you see it when he says to Dolores, "You're the first real thing that's happened to me." And Charlotte Hale, I mean, what she went through in this episode. Tessa Thompson's fantastic. The best performance she's given in this show so far.
Yeah, I think Aaron Paul and Tessa Thompson were the clear standouts. And Tessa Thompson obviously has, since season 1 of the show, has become a prominent figure in Hollywood. So I think it was only natural for them to give her an episode where she can display all her abilities as an actor. And with Aaron Paul, too, I tweeted that it's nice to see him acting his ass off on my television again, because it feels so long since Breaking Bad, and we got a little bit of that back with El Camino, but he plays this type of character so well. And it really is a relatable portrayal.
Right, and just to go back to this ideal of wholeness, I think there are so many different... We could talk, I think, maybe 20, 30 minutes just about this poem and how it applies to all the different characters. But for Charlotte, she has that line about she thinks the real Charlotte Hale is trying to rip my pearl out of her body. And it goes back to the ghost in the shell idea, that her ghost doesn't belong in this shell. So it's the absence of field right there. But also, I think in a larger scale, when Sarek talks about this device that he's built, in that preview that they released about the divergences, he talks about how everything was able to be predicted until Dolores came along. Or he says until you came along, assuming it's Dolores or Maeve.
But there's someone we haven't accounted for. You?
So it's almost like the hosts are disrupting the wholeness of humanity and the wholeness that he is manufacturing. So it applies in all these different places. I mean, that's why the show is so smart. But for Caleb, I wanted to make the point too that it seems like this idea of wholeness is going to destroy Charlotte, but with Caleb, it's going to transform him.
We saw throughout the episode the toll this is taking on whoever's in Charlotte's body, trying to be this other person. We said in the preview for this episode that not only does this host have to come to terms with the nature of their reality, but now you're trying to pretend to be somebody else and trying to adjust to all the different variables, whether it's family, work, and just little things like mannerisms and details that it's impossible to know. Because no matter how much Rehoboam or Sarek knows about somebody in insight, little connections between two people, it's hard to fake that and pretend.
Right, and the moment when she embraces her ex-husband, played by Michael Ealy, it reminded me of Deckard and Rachel in Blade Runner, where she just kind of jumps on him. They jump on each other because we need to feel something. We need to feel love. We need to feel passion. But like you said, those little details when he mentions, "Let's not wake up our son," and she goes, "Who?" And from his perspective, it's like, oh, Charlotte Hales, once again, she's too caught up in work. She doesn't care about us, but she just didn't know that she actually had a kid. And that scene between them was so creepy.
Yeah, I think she might have known, but I think just there's so much going on where it
was a genuine mind lapse.
You kind of just forget, like, oh, wait.
She already hates the kid.
Yeah, but those are some dark moments, and you see just that interaction with her and Nathan where I think he could tell something's missing, but he's probably not old enough to realize that or even think that this is not my mom.
It goes back to like kids can see ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Kids and dogs, they kind of know when something's off. And he has that one line, "I want my old mom back." And that could apply to, hey, Charlotte Hale used to be a really cool soccer mom. Now she's Mrs. Fortune 500 and I don't see her anymore. But then we have this scene between Caleb, to skip ahead, Caleb and his mother, and she says the same thing to him. She says, "I want my old son back." So it makes you think, is Caleb a host? I don't see much evidence for it, and I kind of like the idea of him being a blue-collar human being trying to gain free will.
Yeah, I think it was just a nice little connection between Hale and Caleb's character.
Yeah, it could be just metaphorical.
Mm-hmm. And we alluded to who is Hale in this episode, and I think the moments between Dolores and this character kind of shed some light without even coming out and saying it, because there's numerous times where Dolores could have been like, "Teddy, it's going to be okay," or "Hey, Clementine, How's it hanging? They seem to have this connection that was even before all this, before entering the new world.
Well, it gets really dark when they meet in that hotel and she books the 2 rooms. She's like, book all the rooms that are opposite of this room. And Hale says, because she had limited her emotional affect, so that if you have to kill me, she's like, it won't come to that. And it doesn't, because they have the nice moment in the bedroom. But she's just so reliant on Dolores. She's having this existential crisis throughout the episode. And I don't know who's in there. I don't think it's Teddy, because I think he was sent into the Forge and he's with all the other hosts. Maybe there's a possibility that she created a second Teddy with all of his memories, with all the experiences that they shared, and now there's 2 Teddys.
Yeah. Thank God we don't have that.
We don't have that problem here. We just got the one Teddy.
I'm kind of leaning towards Teddy, because the conversations they have and the way they embrace each other, I feel like that's something she would only do with Teddy. There's no one else that comes to mind that...
What about her dad? Because I was thinking, it's like, no one knows me as well as you, so they do have that 30-year history.
Yeah, but she big spoons him.
Well, Dolores is kind of daddy now.
You don't big spoon your dad.
Well, she's taken on the role of father. That's the thing. I think their relationships, the host relationships, we almost can't look at them as human relationships. Just because it might be Dolores and her dad, they're very progressive. The hosts, they'll I think it's more platonic. Yeah. Like even Caleb and Dolores, when Caleb has that line to Dolores, "You're the first real thing that's happened to me," it didn't feel like a love thing. It felt like this is fun. Like, I'm finally carving my own path here. It might be a path of destruction, but at least it's mine. At least it's something that belongs to me. And I think that's it's the same thing with Dolores, breaking out of the park.
Yeah.
Other candidates, Clementine, obviously, she was a pretty powerful. Angela was her right-hand host throughout season 2, so they obviously had some experience together. I saw people suggest that it could be William as a host, that she took William's pearl, that, how they were trying to recreate all the humans as hosts, and it's a new William.
So I'm sure we'll figure out who it is in the coming weeks. I don't think they're going to try to keep it too big of a secret, because it's something that's interesting, but I don't think it's big where you have to kind of hide it. It's not like a William Man in Black reveal. I don't think so, at least.
Yeah. It seems like they're hiding it just because they can say, hey, we surprised you, didn't we? You had to guess. The secret that I'm more interested in, which isn't a secret at all, because in season 2, that's basically what the whole season is about. Delos' dirty secret, as Sarah calls it. These plans go back all the way to season 1, and that was really interesting to me, the scene that she has when she actually meets Sarek. But before we get to that, let's talk about the very first scene of the episode, that video that she leaves for her son. That was a dark scene as well. It's kind of your last chance to, she's been an absentee parent, to try and prove to your kid that you really do love them.
Yeah, and when the host, Charlotte, is watching that, and it elicits a response. And I think there's some human moments with the host this episode. We have Dolores in the beginning when, after Caleb helps save her, she says, "Run away. You don't want to, you're too good to be a part of this."
Right.
And obviously, host Charlotte's response to that video, and we see by the end, she kind of looks like she's going to embrace being in this role. She has a moment in the park where she kills a man that's trying to kidnap her son, and she kind of says, now that was the first thing that made her feel like herself.
I found it to be just kind of a jarring way to get the message across that she was going to be a predator. I'm a predator too. A different type of predator.
I want to make it clear. Different from you.
There's different types of predators. You seen Predator, the movie?
I think even the dog knew. She's like, thanks, this guy's fucking creeping me out.
The dog straight up had no loyalty. She was like, hey, honey, look, I guess that's how you get dogs in the future, right?
And when she says, you are my sunshine to the kid, that was pretty creepy. She said it in a weird way.
And he was like, yep, that's definitely my mom.
Welcome back.
Well, she uses that to unlock the code that she'd been getting throughout the episode, and when she finally figures it out. So I guess, Charlotte Hale did truly love her son. She made that little password based on his favorite song, and it reroutes her to Sarek's house, and then we see Palm Clementine again, speaking French this time.
Sarek is great, man. He's such a mysterious type villain. I think he plays that role wonderfully.
Oh yeah, Vincent Castle has been so good so far.
Throughout the episode, they're trying to find the mole because they realize that Sarek has been kind of slowly but surely building up stake in Delos, and if they were to go private, he would own Delos.
Right, and like we mentioned, this is something that has been brewing since season 1, so this idea of them profiling the guests and trying to make them immortal is out there in certain circles. And it's so funny watching all the reactions of Charlotte figuring out that she's the mole.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's like, you're never going to find the mole because it's Charlotte, but this new Charlotte doesn't know that she's the mole, and then she finds out that she's the mole, and it's like, we just found the person that we were looking for. That's what Dolores says. The person we're looking for is now looking for us. It's all playing into their hands. And I can't wait for that showdown between Sarek and Dolores. Because Dolores is really kind of taking on the role of the new Ford. Even when in the beginning, when they escaped from the cops that were called on the Rico app, and she picks up that machine gun, she looked like Dr. Ford in season 2. Just mowing people down with that confidence, you know?
Yeah.
Just get the fuck out of my way. And to talk about that scene, that's really where Caleb... It's really the scene where Caleb dies. Even Dolores tells him, lose your name. You have to go into hiding. So this is him going on that path. But I thought it was a great just action sequence.
Yeah, it was very suspenseful. You kind of learn more about this world where the ambulance, they can't even help Dolores until the computer makes a diagnostic and tells them what to do. And just the depths of the Rico app where you can find people to impersonate cops, to pull over and murder people. Literally in the middle of the street.
The cars look great.
Yeah. No, everything in this world looks great. It has that...
It looks like a realistic progression of our society.
Yeah, the aesthetic, it's not like too futuristic where you're like, yeah, this could be LA in the future in 50 years, 30 years.
The helicopters kind of look like drone cars. We're not going to have flying cars. It's just stupid. It's a stupid idea. We're going to have these cars that drive themselves, and if you get pulled over by the cops, the fact that the cops can cut your engine, that's a little scary.
Well, even just the rerouting, when Sarek just rerouting the car, nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and then Dolores also saves Caleb when she finds out on the Rico app that he is being hunted. And once again, he doesn't give up any names. He is truly an OG. And it's interesting that the drip that each human being has installed on the bottom of on the roof of their mouth.
They just went the General Swagger.
The drip of him being held on a ledge and his heart rate at 180 beats.
Pulled it off, man.
Because they go into that technology a bit in the first episode, and obviously with Marshawn Lynch's character, maybe he just boosted his serotonin when she says that he's dripping right now, because it seems like he was on drugs.
Yeah.
So I guess you can affect your drip to like, hey, just get me high.
Well, yeah, cool. And then in the first scene, I think, of the season, the man that Dolores breaks into his house, he looks like he does it to sleep. It's an insight, I think, invention where you can kind of just change your mood based on whatever you want to plug into your roof of your mouth that day.
You see how they use it against Caleb, where they just raise his heart rate, they raise his adrenaline. So
that
he's about to go
intense.
Yeah, no, that got me, because it's like that's such a, to be on the cusp of a heart attack for how long?
Yeah.
To be like 45 seconds just balancing that line.
What was up with that robot?
I don't know if he was hacked by Dolores.
I thought it was Dolores at first, that she wasn't going to be there, but she kind of knew where they were. So if she hacked into this robot to try to save him, he just fucking dips.
I don't know, maybe that was like a warning where it's like, because we see Caleb, they say later in the episode that he's projected to commit suicide in 10 to 12 years. And this is like, maybe that just shows that was on his mind in that moment.
I have no idea.
I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to yell at us for being stupid, for not knowing what that scene meant.
Maybe just buy Dolores some time. I don't know. But yeah, he doesn't give up Dolores, and that kind of starts their relationship of, like you said, just...
Well, it starts their relationship of her freaking him the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because she takes him to that diner, and we've seen this in flashbacks as well. In the moments when he's almost about to have a heart attack, he's seeing his life flash before his eyes, and that's the one memory he goes to. And it's later revealed that that's his worst memory. That's when his mom was institutionalized for her mental illness. And Dolores is kind of giving him the rundown on how this Rehoboam technology works. This isn't just mass data. This is, we know every single movement you've made and you're going to make.
In the Rehoboam Theory video we made, we kind of alluded to where how if they knew everything about someone's past and their code and their makeup, and then they put them on a path, that's how they, in effect, predict the future. And they do know a lot.
Right. Well, it's like the first thing that comes to your mind is military veteran. And this big corporation says we see no future for him. It just goes to show how we treat our veterans in real life. It's like, go fight our wars, and then we're just going to throw you off onto the curb. We don't see a future for you. In this world, it's like, we really don't see a future for you. We're going to set you on a path where you maybe kill yourself in 12 years instead of putting you on a path of getting help.
Well, the first episode, he can't get a new job. He's applying. They won't tell him why, and he's just stuck. And that's how, in this world, they, in effect, put these humans on a loop.
Inside is like, I'm about to ruin this man's whole career for so many different people. And it's like even the history of, his mom's mental illness, but him reliving that. That's where Aaron Paul really comes out to shine. You give that man trauma, and he's going to show you some fucking trauma.
When she's like, you're getting angry, he's like, I'm not angry. I'm enraged.
Yeah. You can just see it. It's somebody, it was some comedy. It's like, it's not about crying on demand. It's keeping yourself from crying on demand. Like the holding back. And you really get that because he wants to care for Dolores. He's obviously got a good heart, but he's pissed off. in this moment.
Yeah, he was fantastic in the scene. Something about Aaron Paul and diners really brings out the
Yeah, that's the first thing that it reminded me of. Walt and Jesse in the diner and him getting pissed off like he always does. It's a great way to kind of prove to him that this technology is for real. What's your darkest and most disturbing memory? I know it. And then she takes him to the place where he's projected to kill himself. And at that point, he's almost impressed. He's like, no fucking way. It's like, you don't fucking know that.
That was another great scene when she's breaking down how the Rehoboam works and what they've done to society. Because, like we said, throughout this episode, the first episode, he's not scared of death. He's not scared of anything. He has nothing to lose. So this creates an avenue for him, a path that he can finally do what he wants to do. And he's not going to be bound by the restrictions of the society they live in.
And she was very surprised by his decision to help her, because we had mentioned that before, that her experience with human beings was only the worst of the worst. So you wonder how this is going to change her perspective on humanity, if that there's going to be a new type of society she wants to build with hosts and humans. I could see her coming to really appreciate Caleb and then betraying him at the very end. And it kind of breaks her heart, but she's like, hey, this is just for a host world.
Well, for her revolution, you would assume that she's going to need. I mean, they alluded to it numerous times where the 6 hosts or whatever they have is not going to be enough.
Well, even when Charlotte touches that new robot that they've been building, that they were trying to sell to Saudi Arabia, she was like, these will do nicely. Yeah. So you know that they're going to hack into those, maybe use those as the robot army.
But I think you're going to need people like Caleb. You're going to need people that have been affected by the implementation of putting these people on loops and basically stripping them of their free will on these deterministic paths. So you got to think there are millions of people like Caleb out there. The average person in the society that feels mistreated or left out.
The thing that I keep going back to is in episode 1 when Liam describes the machine to Dolores, and he essentially says, my father believed that everyone should be put on a path. But then he says, even I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what it's truly doing. So I think there's definitely another layer to Rehoboam's power. And obviously, I don't think that Sarek just wants Delos' dirty secret, because he's just obsessed with power. There's going to be another layer to this, another endgame that they're not giving us yet. So that it's the machine, and Sarek has me so intrigued. And I love this idea, too, of him just being totally invisible, just fully anonymous on the world stage.
Yeah, trillionaire that there's no information about out there.
Right, they did the whole displacement to calculate mass. They're like, there's $1 trillion not accounted for in the economy. We're going to say that he has that $1 trillion.
Yeah, well, he does control basically all of the data in the world. So delete this.
Delete my Facebook, my MySpace.
It's very easy to delete
record.
people from history in this world. Arnold? No one knew who Arnold was.
Yeah, no, that is true.
I do think this is the strongest episode of the season so far. How we talked about Aaron Paul and Tessa Thompson just absolutely crushing their performances and just the way they progress the story in this episode. And like you said earlier, I'm very much looking forward to Sarek versus Dolores. I think he has the ability, Sarek that is, to be just a absolute fantastic villain for someone like Dolores or even Maeve, and there was no Maeve this episode, so we still gotta try to figure out where she works in all of this, if she stays with Sarek or does she move over towards Dolores.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's easily the best episode of the season, and it's that character of Sirach where he's so mysterious, and I still think we have so much to get into with that character and his history if he knew Arnold and Dr. Ford. Don't count out a young Dr. Ford cameo.
I would love a flashback between them just talking shop.
Because you have to imagine, Ford was pretty powerful, pretty genius, but this guy's on a different level. This is like the emperor of the world.
And also, it looks like we might get some William next week. I would assume they would have a prior relationship too. I think an interaction between him and William would be great too, especially since he knows so much about the hosts.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you guys for watching this. You can leave your thoughts on this episode in the comment section below. And make sure you scream at us for anything that we got wrong.
Keeps us in check.
I think sometimes it's just you on a burner.
Me?
Just fucking with me.
No, that's a good idea though.
Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. And before we go, we would like to thank our sponsor, NordVPN. NordVPN is a product we frequently discuss on this channel. And if you're watching our video, that probably means you find yourself on the internet often. Now more than ever, it's important to secure your internet connection, and that's what Nord does. Their virtual private network offers you a secure connection to the internet. Through Nord, you can hide your IP address, you can protect your passwords, your banking information. You no longer have to feel vulnerable when connecting to the internet. Nord's private networks feature military-grade encryption that makes sure everything is secure. One of the best perks of using Nord is the ability to sign into networks from all over the world. This can give you access to content you normally wouldn't be able to watch. And with up to 6 simultaneous connections, you can protect a multitude of your devices. And remember, if you click the link in the description box below, you will receive 70% off a 3-year plan with NordVPN. This special offer makes your subscription just $3.49 per month, so don't wait. Give yourself the peace of mind and take control of your internet experience today.